didn't know who he was. He was sitting there with his back to me. And I was like, did I get a new student? Because I saw the glasses and I saw the hair and I didn't see the front. I'm like, who the hell is that? What are you doing in that teaching chair? You just got it way down? Yeah. I said, what are you doing in that teaching chair? You just got it way down. All right, chapter 14. Okay, involuntary liens. What is an involuntary lien? Mechanics lien. Okay, but you engaged somebody, so you should have known that would happen. Unpaid taxes, judgments. What's the biggest voluntary lien? A mortgage. And that's what we enter into. Most of us voluntarily, we know we're going into that. So involuntary liens are something that we didn't intend to happen. So we're at the mercy of whatever to try to resolve the problem. So the idea is we don't let involuntary liens happen in the first place. Another involuntary lien would be as if you did a bail bond for somebody and they skipped. You sign that house over, the bail bond company could foreclose on you to make you sell to get the proceeds. That's totally what that whole game is all about. Not where people want to be, so be careful who you co-sign for. Same kind of thing as co-signing. Okay, so a lien is a claim against another's property securing either payment of a debt or fulfillment of some other monetary charge or obligation. So we have voluntary and involuntary. We talked about that. Mechanics lien, it's a right of one who renders services or supplies materials in connection with the improvement of real property to seek a judicial sale of the realty to satisfy it. For the most part, mechanic liens do not force people into foreclosure. What they do is they force people to pay up because people don't want a lien to stay on their house or their property. When a mechanics lien is filed against a commercial property, they couldn't resell or they couldn't refinance with that. Same with residential, can't sell or refinance. So typically that's the mechanics way of getting somebody to push to do it. But the mechanics lien will give you notice that they're going to lien. They don't just slap the lien on there without you knowing about it. You know it. You know you didn't pay them. They had to give you notice. Then they file the lien. So at that time, you also had an opportunity to pay them or settle up with them or tell them what your problem was with their services, why you didn't think they should be paid. At that time, you can take them to court and say, wait a minute, man, you didn't do a job right, and this is why I want to stop this.
Homeowners, like people, they're not paying their homeowners dues.
Homeowners do. Condominium can do the same thing.
Is that like a judgment?
It's more like a tax lien, but yes, they would go through a judicial process.
Okay.
But a condominium dues are it's like taxes. They will file a lien against you and force foreclosure. But again, condominiums aren't in the business. They don't have extra money. They're not trying to buy your unit back. They're just, again, liens are a method to force people to pay. They're a pain in the ass. They're a nuisance. That's why we're getting them. That's what's happening with them. We have claimants. We have an ownership interest, the type of work, the contract, the consent, and the permanency. So they've got to show all this before they can file a mechanics lien. They've got to show that there was an ownership interest, that there was a contract to do work. Mechanics lien goes and files and says, I had an agreement to do a job and I came in and then they didn't pay me. The courts are going to say, well, where's your agreement? Okay, it's a verbal agreement. Okay, so now we got his word against his word. Where is that? So mechanics are smart to put all their contracts in writing as well. It's real estate, man. Put it in writing. Make sure it's done. The perfection of a lien, again, performance of those steps required to sell the real property. They've got to give notice. They've got to do a filing. So there is a perfection. They've got to show everybody that there's a process to go through to get this, to force the sale. The judgment lien. This is a lien that automatically attaches to real property of a defendant when a plaintiff wins a judgment against in the jurisdiction in which the property is located. So Bernie Madoff got sued by a lot of people. He went to jail. Not everybody was able to recover the money that they sued him for, but what happened is they wiped him out because they were able to try to go back after his personal property. This is when owning things in the LLC, I'm not sure what kind of protection you get, because when there's a judgment lien against you, they're going to come back after everything you own or touch. The courts can go through those kind of process to do that. Forced sale, forced liquidation to get money to pay people. So there's requirements, there's a legal effect, there's termination. Now, there is this thing called a notice of lis pendens. It's a recorded document that gives constructive notice that an action has been filed that might affect the title or possession of a specified parcel of real estate. So, I'm going to go after somebody's piece of real estate. I'm going to post this, lis pendens, because while I'm perfecting and going through that whole court process, I want the world to know there's an action. Because guess what? Somebody buys that piece of real estate, they might end up having a piece of real estate sold out from under them because there's an action against it. So as a proper person, I'm going to put notice there. I'm attaching it, the act of seizing the defendant's property by a legal process. The vendor's lien. Some states the right of a seller to a lien against land conveyed for an unpaid, unsecured portion of the purchase price. This is kind of what I have in brokerage. Residential brokers don't have this. Commercial brokers have this right to file lien. We do it to landlords to give them notice, to make them perform. The problem with the whole lien law with Ohio brokers, we have to file the lien within 60 days. With commercial real estate, we're typically not paid for 90 to 180 to 200 days. After a transaction, we got to wait for closing. We got to wait for all kinds of things. So we've passed the whole point of filing a lien when we realize we're getting screwed out of our money. And we don't want to file liens right away with property owners because then we're going to be seen as the bad guys. It ruins our relationship as commercial brokers to be able to do this. It did help me get money paid for a deal that I was doing in Connecticut, but I still only got a third of my commission. I lost a lot of money, but it helped us push it through and get settlement faster by being able to go back to the owner and say, man, settle with us, do something before we file a lien on the property. Still only got a third of the money. That kind of sucked. Tax lien. A lien imposed against real property for payment of taxes. So the priority, in other words, it goes above everything. It goes above the mortgage and everything else. We have the tax lien that you think of for county taxes, the real estate taxes, but you can also have federal tax liens. The IRS can attach to your property. What? Yeah, you're telling the world you've done it. The other thing where this kind of tax lien, it's not really a tax lien, but student loans, they can also go through the IRS and file liens through the IRS. And a lot of students don't realize that when they're not paying their loans, what the consequences are, how student loan companies can backdoor you and come back after your money. And it can, filing real estate, my God, who owns that? What is that? So I, as a parent, borrowed money for my kid to send him to school. Guess what? They can come after my home, too. So I'm making sure I pay my payments. And that's really, I think I'm at the end already. Yeah, that is the end of, again, involuntary liens are not something we want to happen. They happen as a result of doing business, as a result of living. We get into these problems because we lose jobs, because we go through divorces, because death happens, because other things happen in